Lars Nootbaar speaks since having surgery, and what will the Cardinals' plan be without him if he's not ready for opening day? This is Locked on Cardinals.
You are Locked on Cardinals, your daily St. Louis Cardinals podcast, part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, Cardinals fans. I'm JD Hafron, a former national radio sports anchor, born and raised in St. Louis. I'm a lifetime Cardinals fan, and I'm your host for Locked on Cardinals, part of the Locked on Podcast Network, covering your team every day. Big thank you to our everydayers for being here with us throughout the season and now into this offseason. For those of you who are new, welcome aboard, and I hope you enjoy the content. This is a show serving Cardinal Nation and giving you all the info about the birds on the bat. Today's episode being brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you'll get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app, so download the app today. It would benefit you. Today's episode, we've got Cardinal Confessions. We're going to talk about free agents, a lot of opinions on the article by Jim Bowden from The Athletic. Had the Cardinals linked to 4 different pitchers, so some thoughts on that. We've got an update on the Albert Pujols managerial possibilities, latest going on with him. But we're going to start here with the latest on Cardinals outfielder Lars Nootbaar. First, though, apologies for not being around yesterday. After covering the 18-inning Game 3 of the World Series on Monday night into Tuesday morning, I got to bed at like 4 a.m. and then woke up and had just an awful cold. I'm still dealing with it. I'm under the weather today still. Although I was able to get MLB game night done last night, but I just felt like butt. I still do, but we're going to power through. So I'm here for you. Seasons change and like weather's dipped from 75 to 50 and it gets wet and gross. And I don't know what it is, man. It hits me every year. It's nasty. So I don't even get sick a lot. It really doesn't happen all that much. So when I go down and I can't show up, then it's probably pretty bad. So I appreciate your patience. Now, moving on. Lars Nootbaar, one of a handful of Cardinals players who had surgery during the offseason. And honestly, this was the one that caught me off guard the most. I mean, we kind of knew that Donnie was dealing with stuff. We knew Ivan Herrera was going to have to do some stuff. I was not aware that Lars Nootbaar was going to have to go under the knife this offseason, and so it caught me off guard a little bit. We know Noot has dealt with his fair share of injuries in his career, but this past year he was relatively healthy. You know, he played in a career high 135 games, so you're like, oh, well, finally he may have gotten over the injury bug. So it came as a bit of a surprise to me, and apparently to Noot as well, that he was going to have surgery, according to Derek Gould's recent article at STLtoday.com, which I do have linked in the description and in the show notes as well. So if you want to click on that and read it in its fullest for yourself, you should do that. Noot said, when they told me I needed surgery, I was like, hold on, let me get a picture of Noot up here for you guys. There you go. I was like a huge shock. I didn't know how to respond. I was nervous. You got the start of the season. The WBC World Baseball Classic is coming up. There were so many things, and there was a part of me that was like, all right, finally, there's a solution to this problem that's been happening for a while, and it's been eating me up. Part of me was relieved. There was light at the end of the tunnel. Now, what he had surgery on sounds extremely uncomfortable. And I'm not somebody who has had a lot of surgeries in my life. Very few, honestly. Trying to think of one, I think that like I would consider like a surgery is when I broke a leg once. But this sounds very uncomfortable to say the least. He had to have surgery on both of his heels due to Haglund's deformities, which are basically bony enlargements at the back of the heel bone right by the Achilles tendon. Apparently, they're very, very painful. It sounds painful. It sounds awful. And Noot had to get those shaven down. So these bony enlargements that were causing so much just friction and just pain to him while he's just walking and just everyday life. I mean, you're on your feet all the time, especially if you're a ball player. Had to get those shaven down. So it doesn't sound like it's something that, it's not just like no big deal type of surgery. I mean, this is legit. We also learned from Chaim Bloom's interview with Matt Pauley on KMOX that opening day is not guaranteed for Noot as he heals from the surgery. You get it? Heals. Okay. Sorry, cold medicine, dad jokes, probably not a good mix. But anyway, so in Gould's article, Noot talked about his recovery and said that, hey, it's going well. Gould pointed out that recoveries are based on the individual. Everybody's a little different, but usually range between 4 to 6 months. Opening day is going to be on March 26th at Busch Stadium against Tampa Bay. So you can see why there would be some skepticism for his availability. They're not going to say like, yeah, he should be here. But they're not going to say he's not going to be there either. They're going to kind of play it by ear and see how things unfold. But Noot is expressing optimism, which he should. It shouldn't shock you. He's one of the most optimistic dudes you've ever heard speak. He said this, again, this is from Derek Gould's article. To be honest with you, there is a part of me that for a couple of years now in the cage or with the information I had in the weight room that I'm getting as much as I can done, but also I can't run or do certain things like I want because of the pain in my feet. With me getting this done and getting such good treatment on it, I almost, for me, feel like this offseason might be better. I'm clearing myself. I'm getting completely healthy. I'm not ignoring these ongoing injuries that have been bothering me. So good news, bad news situation when it comes to what he's dealing with. All right. The good news for Lars Nootbaar is the surgery appears to have been a success. It appears that it's worked out. He's rehabbing it. There wasn't some like major issue while he was under or anything. So that's good. So we'll know more as he continues this rehabilitation process. It appears that he's got a good mindset moving forward on how this will help him become a better player for the Cardinals in 2026. After, let's be honest, he regressed in a lot of categories last season. A healthy and a productive Nootbaar at the top of the order was instrumental to the Cardinals' solid start in the first couple of months. At the end of May, he's hitting 248, which isn't great, but he had 8 home runs, 28 RBIs. The OBP was at 347. And more importantly, the Cardinals were 32-24. As the season went on, he became less and less effective. And in the second half, he had just 1 home run and 11 RBIs over 47 games. And that's almost 200 plate appearances. I'm not talking about like a couple of weeks here. 47 games. That's all he was doing. And Cardinals suffered. They go 21-26. Noot's part of the guys that get this engine going. And when he's at the top of the order and he's wearing out pitchers with his keen eye, I still want to see what he can do with the ABS because we know how good Lars's eye can be. But the good news is he feels like this is going to help him significantly. The bad news, other than he's hurt, because we never wish injuries upon anyone, but if the Cardinals were entertaining any trades that involve Lars Nootbaar, then those are kind of squashed right now, right? Like until he proves he can return healthy next season, what team is trading for a guy who's had surgery on both his heels this offseason and is currently in boots and using crutches? I don't know anybody who would be like, yeah, sign me up. In the meantime, what will the Cardinals outfield look like without Lars Nootbaar as a part of it? I'll discuss that next, coming up on Locked On Cardinals. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. You and I, we make decisions every day. But on Prize Picks, being right can actually get you paid, where our everyday choices, maybe we don't get so much in return. But don't miss out on any of the excitement of this sports season, whether you're following the NFL, the NBA is underway finally, or both. There's no better time to jump in on the action. If you haven't tried it yet, Prize Picks is the simplest way to play. Just pick more or less on at least 2 player stats, at least 2. And if you get them right, you win. It takes less than 60 seconds to put this together and make your lineup. And you can play anywhere Prize Picks operates, including California, Texas, and Georgia. I'm a sports guy. I love watching sports. I do sports for a living. I play fantasy, everything. And I've been using Prize Picks not only during football Sundays, but now that the NBA has tipped off, I've been using it there as well. Just keeps all the games exciting. The new Stacks feature is a freaking game changer for both NFL and NBA. So Nikola Jokic, for instance, you can now pick more on his points, his threes, and his assists in the same lineup. So that's pretty cool when you get a guy like that that's, could do just about everything. Steph Curry's another one to keep an eye on. Plus, if one of your players leaves early with an injury, the injury reboot's going to save your lineup from a loss. It's really good. They cater to you. So download the Prize Picks app today. Use code LOCKEDONMLB to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONMLB for $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. Thanks again for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day. If you enjoy daily Cardinals content, you can follow the podcast on X at @LO_Cardinals. We're also on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram at Locked On Cardinals. Now, I've been someone who has openly stated I'm kind of ready to move on from the Lars Nootbaar experience and see if they can find someone else who can do more for them, who can stay healthy. And honestly, we could use a right-handed bat in the Cardinals lineup, to be honest with you. Somebody with a little bit of thump. That would be nice, but trading him while he's hurt, is that really a good idea? The value, it's at its lowest. You hope he comes back, makes a really good impression, and then if you can find a cool deal that involves Lars Nootbaar to help you in other areas, so be it. So be it. So as much as it sucks to lose the trade chip that Lars Nootbaar might have been, I'm going to have to put that sucker back in his pocket for now because I just don't see anybody pulling the trigger on a deal to get him. So what will the Cardinals outfield look like without Noot? That's a legitimate question. As of now, you haven't traded anyone, although that could change in the coming weeks when the World Series wraps up and then GM meetings take place November 10th through the 13th. But with Noot out, there shouldn't be any panic, okay? Like, I'm not freaking out because Lars Nootbaar's not going to be in the lineup on opening day, although that's not for sure, but I'm just going to say he ain't going to be ready yet. That's just going to be my guess. And if he shows up, then good for him, man. That's great. Ahead of schedule, in my opinion. But the Cardinals have capable bodies to help fill this void. And you don't have the kind of stigma where it's like, well, we got to play Noot, right? You got to play him. Do you? Because I got some guys here. Alec Burleson, I think, becomes your everyday left fielder for the foreseeable future. We know the bat plays. He's going to be in your lineup anyways. You're not going to bench his bat, who's up for a Silver Slugger award, will probably win it. So put him in left field. You would have him and Victor Scott and then Walker in right field to start the season. Brendan Donovan could begin the season in left field as well. Have Burley as the DH, also playing some first base with Willie Contreras. That opens up a spot at second base for Thomas Ujasi. Or, if they're feeling frisky, top prospect J.J. Weatherholt. Yeah, remember him? This is also assuming that Nolan Arenado gets moved and Gorman becomes your everyday third baseman, because if that doesn't happen, Gorman can play second base, and you don't have to feel the pressure of bringing JJ up just yet, and you'd move Donovan to left there. Ivan Herrera, my guy, took some reps in left field last year. Is it ideal to have him in left field? No, but you want his bat in the lineup. I know they want to give him another shot at catching, and they're going to do that, but if it doesn't work out, is Ivan Herrera somebody that you can leave in left field and not freak out every time the ball is hit in his general direction? Also, currently on the 40-man roster, you've got guys like Nathan Church, who we saw at the end of last season, Matt Koperniak, who had a rough year at Memphis. The production dipped in 2025, wasn't what you were hoping for after kind of a breakout 2024 season. My guy Michael Ciani is still down there on the 40-man roster as well, but all three of those guys, they're bench roll guys. You're not looking to have them be in the starting lineup. But those are like other options to kind of fill the different spots that when you have to shuffle guys around. So there are options. There are options is what I'm telling you. And you could also look outside the organization and try to find someone to bring in if you want to. There's plenty of right-handed hitting names available in free agency that won't be too expensive. They're not the sexiest names. You could make a trade to acquire someone that is serviceable if you were able to find something that fit what you're trying to do. But knowing the Cardinals, I would just assume that they're going to patch this up with some in-house options until Noot is ready to roll, because this isn't something that's supposed to keep him out, to the middle of the season or anything like that. At least we don't think so. We've heard this before with, remember when Tommy Edman and he had the wrist injury and we're like, he'll be all right. he's going to be fine. And then we never saw him in a Cardinal uniform again. He got traded to the Dodgers at the trade deadline right when he got healthy and missed the entire season as far as being a member of the St. Louis Cardinals. So I'd assume they're going to patch this up in-house somehow. Sadly, kind of how they did with using Jose Barrero and Ryan Vilade at the beginning of the season. Again, it is not sexy, but it doesn't need to be if Noot's only going to miss the first couple of weeks. If he was out a really long time, then maybe you make a bigger deal out of it. You got a number of different combinations that you could use here to cover the spot, assuming everyone returns healthy at the start of the year. I know we're going to get some people in the comments who are mad that Jordan Walker is automatically getting right field again, but that's just the way it's going to be. I would be shocked if anything else happens. They need him to work out in the worst way. He needs to become a dude for them. They need some thump in that outfield that was so bad offensively in 25, and Walker was part of the problem. We know that. But if he can somehow get going next season, what a boost that would be. Plus, you'd have Burley, who you trust with his bat to swing the lumber at that silver slugger level. And then you hope that Victor Scott also improves in his second full season. I know we've got people who are already like, Victor Scott, he can't hit. He sucks. Can't hit at the major league level. He's had one full season. Like, why is it just an absolute that he is going to be crap at the plate for his whole career? I don't know where that thinking comes from, but it's no guarantee that he's going to be good either. But second full season coming up. Hopefully he's made some adjustments and will be better in 2026. Cardinal confessions. We got to do these next. The topic is free agency. Jim Bowden's top 50 free agents. The Cardinals were linked to 4 of them. We discussed this on Monday. Now it's time for your feedback about what was said in that particular episode. So we'll get to that coming up next here on Locked On Cardinals. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you miss the start of a game or you want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has got live bets on everything from who's going to score next to the fourth quarter comebacks. Austin Reeves. I've been harping on this. For those of you listening, I've been harping on Austin Reeves for the better part of the last week. He continues to go off. No LeBron, no Luka Doncic. So it's been Reeves, who has scored 26, 25, 51, and then 41 points a game. If you jumped in on this hot hand when I told you to 2 games ago, then you're scoring big right now. You're living large. If you haven't, time to pay attention to what I'm telling you. You can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a better payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Thank you for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day. For your second listen, check out Locked On MLB Game Night. Every game, every night until a World Series champion is crowned. Got Game 5 going on tonight. There will be at least a Game 6 in Toronto, so get that local analysis, but on a national scale. You can find MLB Game Night on the Locked On MLB YouTube channel or wherever you listen to your podcasts. The question I posted under Monday's episode was, would you pay that amount for Zac Gallen at this point in his career? 30 years old, 5 years, $135 million, I think is what Jim Bowden said that he predicted that his salary and contract would be. Would you pull the trigger on that if he were willing to come to St. Louis? And which bullpen piece makes the most sense to you? The bullpen piece stuff, everybody was just kind of like, yeah, they all kind of sound good, which I agree. All of them seem like pretty good fits for the Cardinals in their own ways, but had a lot more responses on the Zac Gallen side of things. Here are some of them. St. Louis should definitely be in the mix of free agent negotiations for Gallen, actually for both Gallen and Dylan Cease. Gray might even want to stay if he sees the Cardinals put together a complete pitching staff. Sure. I would imagine if you put better players on the roster that Sonny Gray would be more apt to stick around. Do you trust Dylan Cease? Because I have a tough time believing that he's as good as everybody wants him to be or thinks he's going to be. Like I've seen him flash brilliance here and there, and then I see him pitch well for 2 innings and then get clobbered a lot. So I don't know. I see why people like him though. Great arm, nasty stuff, but yeah, I don't know. And I just feel like somebody's going to overpay for Dylan Cease. Like I think somebody's going to throw the bag at him. I think he's going to get more than Zac Gallen does. Another response here. No, I would not pay big money for a guy who seems to be drifting past his prime. Cards need to draft and develop their starting pitching. There are too many high roller teams that would outbid the Cardinals. Stick to the plan, draft and develop. I think that's probably what they're going to do. They might kick the tires on Zac Gallen. Here's another one. No way Gallen comes back after the bridges that were burned. He was publicly making negative comments about the Cardinals not too long ago. Yeah, I kind of remember that too, but the almighty dollar usually smooths stuff like that over when it's all said and done. I don't think the Cardinals are ready to spend that kind of money on a free agent pitcher right now. As much as it might make some sense, it just doesn't feel like the type of move that the team would do at this point of how they're going about rebuilding things. And again, I've gotten a lot of responses about, the possible work stoppage in 2027. That's certainly weighing on owners' minds as well. So it just doesn't seem like something that they're going to do, in my opinion. The 3 years or less type of pitchers, those are the guys I think that that's the shopping aisle that the Cardinals are going to be in at this point. I just don't see them venturing outside of that for any of these other guys at this point. Here's one who's upset that it was all about pitching. Pitching for all 4 spots, dude. They really need another bat, especially a right-handed bat that can kill left-handed pitching. And Noot sounding like he's going to be out for quite a while. They do not have a power outfielder or third baseman, and that's with already having the likes of 220 batting average with absolutely zero power outfielder in Victor Scott. Sorry, but that's just effing stupid to me. If we're to pursue more than one free agent, I'd want at least one position player added to the mix. Okay. All right. A lot of caps, a lot of exclamation points there. I love it. I love the fire. Again, when it comes to the offense, I think they are really banking, and this is going to upset some people. I think they're just banking on full seasons and progression from the younger guys to carry them. Burley, Herrera, Victor Scott, Gorman, Walker, Mason Wen coming back from the knee issue, Jimmy Crooks, they think can add more offense behind the plate. Whatever role Thomas Ajayci is in, they think he should be a better offensive player. J.J. Weatherholt coming up at some point to go along with Donnie, Wilson Contreras, Nootbaar when he's back healthy. And I know Vic isn't the power guy. You don't need him to be, though. Not everybody needs to be hitting 20 home runs a year. It'd be cool. A lot cooler if you did. Like a cobweb right there. Be a lot cooler if you did. But you need him to just be the Gold Glove caliber guy he is in center field and learn to get on base more. That's really what I want for Victor Scott, so he can become an even bigger weapon on the base paths. Honestly, the guys, and it's like I feel like I'm just regurgitating the same crap, but it's the way I feel. Walker and Gorman have to be these guys. That's what they've been groomed to become. Walker needs to be 25, 30 home run guy. Gorman needs to be 25, 30 home run guy. That's where the power upgrade needs to come from. I'm sorry if that's too much pressure for somebody, but I'm just asking you to do what you're supposed to be doing and to be the player you're supposed to be. It's what's expected of these guys. And they have fallen so short of where they need to be at this point in their career. So that's really where I see it coming from. If they do that, if you can get them two guys to turn it around, and then you get what you saw last year from Alec Burleson and Ivan Herrera, plus Willie and Donnie's normal production, I feel like you got a decent lineup in my eyes, but they need those two guys to become those bats for them. And that it's a very big if. I know that. It's, we saw it fail miserably last year. And it's part of the reason why the offense struggled, because you had two guys. Well, Gorman couldn't get on the field for the longest time, and Walker couldn't stay on the field because he kept getting hurt last year. He kept having issues. So we need healthy seasons, and they got to become the dudes. They got to become real dudes in this lineup. Could you trade one or both of them for an established bat? Maybe. But think about it this way, too. And I tend to do this when I'm feeling a certain way about a player, and then I try to like put myself in the shoes of somebody else. So if we're so desperate as Cardinal people to punt on these guys, like we're like, no, they suck, man. We're not putting up with them anymore. Get them out of here. If you were the GM of another team, why would you want them? Why would you swap a productive bat that you have for either of these guys? For lottery tickets, if you will. Think about that. In Bowden's top 10 trade candidates, he does have Angels outfielder Joe Adell, who I have been fond of for years, and I pointed out that Jordan Walker reminds me of Joe Adell. And it's not just the look and the physical look or anything. I'm talking about just the way he came up, and he just has never found his groove. Never found his groove. And then finally, this past year, Joe Adell found his groove. He figured something out and ended up hitting 37 home runs. This will be Jordan Walker's third year, really. Is this the year that it finally clicks for him? I hope so. I really do. But Joe Adell's a guy under control for 2 more years. Bowden has him as the number 10 guy on the list of the top 10 trade candidates this offseason. So could you go get him? Would you want to go get him? Because he's got a lot of red there. Strikes out a lot. Know that. But he's got a lot of red there. Not sure what it would take, but, Walker and a couple of pitching prospects would be the start. But are you ready to give up stuff to go get somebody like that? Or are you just willing to be patient with Jordan Walker and hope that, he becomes that guy, that he becomes your Joe Adell? So that's the question. And it's not like the free agent outfielder market's that much better. It is not flush full of talent. Miguel Andujar, Rob Refsnyder, Cedric Mullins, Hunter Renfroe. I mean, there's not a lot out there. There's been some Nick Castellanos rumblings that I've seen online, but he seems like a guy who would prefer to go to a contender if he's got his choice at this point in his career, if the Phillies end up moving on from him. Yeah, seems like somebody else. Maybe go back to Detroit. Maybe he goes back to Chicago. He was a Cub too, but he tends to go places and they win. And I don't think he'd want to go somewhere like St. Louis where winning isn't likely something that's going to happen as much as he would like it to where you could be a playoff caliber guy. Real quick, Albert Pujols interviewed for a second time with the Padres as they try to replace former Cardinal manager Mike Shildt, according to reports. Pujols, ex-Padres coach and current Cubs bench coach Ryan Flaherty, ex-Padre and current Rangers exec Nick Hundley, Padres pitching coach Ruben Niebla, Padres scout and ex-Mariners manager Scott Service, and Padres third base coach Brian Esposito are among the candidates. So Albert didn't get the job with the Angels, did not get the job with the Orioles. Padres, maybe. I feel like he'd be a good fit there. I feel like him with, Machado and Fernando Tatis Jr., I feel like that would be a pretty good fit for Albert Pujols, but it's still going to be weird to see him in another uniform again. Anyway, still nothing on Yachty at this time, so that's still radio silence so far. Game 5 of the World Series tonight. Series tied at 2. Savage versus Snell. I had the Dodgers winning in 6, so I'm not wavering on that. I still think that'll happen. But the Blue Jays, man, have they been really resilient considering the loss of George Springer, who got hurt, losing that 18-inning game, which is a real kick to the nards, and having a hobbled Bo Bichette who can't even run. So to be tied at 2 with the Dodgers and beating Ohtani on Tuesday, pretty impressive. So it's been fun to watch. I still think the Dodgers win this thing, but my heart is pulling for Toronto. Thanks for making Locked On Cardinals your first listen every day. If you haven't already, give us a follow on X at LO_Cardinals and at JD Sports Radio, TikTok and Instagram at Locked On Cardinals. Like, subscribe on YouTube. I think we're less than 20 subscribers away from hitting that 13,000 mark. That would be awesome if we could do that by the end of the week. I'd appreciate it. You guys are the best fans in baseball for a reason. I'll see you next time on Locked On Cardinals.